And today, we're going to do something a little bit different. But before we get into that, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving it a like and think about subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me. So, let's talk about what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to talk about the philosophy of mock drafting. Now, a lot of people I've seen in other comment sections and other videos, they talk about mock drafting doesn't matter. You win your league in the waiver wire, and I agree. 100%. Weeks one, two, three, four, those first four, five, even week six, those are extremely important waiver wire weeks. And we can go into a discussion about spending your fab a little bit later, but yes, it's in those weeks that you really understand and learn about the depth charts of certain teams, the roles of certain players, right? You have one connotation as you're drafting, and this really is more for the mid tier guys. So I wouldn't say rounds 1 through 4 usually. This is really for like maybe 6 through the end of your draft. You really start to understand who was a value at draft, and so we're going to go through and I'm going to share my personal philosophy when it comes to drafting. So let's just get into that. Before we start, let's mute the sound, and actually let's do notifications too. I don't really want any of that. Okay, yeah, let's begin. Okay, so this is full PPR. And in my previous videos, I've always talked about matching your picks to the format that you're in. So I've talked extensively on in full PPR, I like to go wide receiver, in the first few rounds or through my flex. And in half PPR, I prefer to go running backs. In this situation, we're at the 3 spot. I'm going to go Bijan Robinson. And I think I can do this for a few reasons. Number one, he's the best player available by far, in my opinion. He is more or less the consensus 101. Maybe Jamar Chase and Bijan, they sort of flip flop. Positional scarcity sort of leans in Bijan's favor. And also, if we're going to talk about the philosophy of picks in these first few rounds, I believe in going. You want to anchor your team, right? You can't control injuries. You can't control sort of a tough schedule, but what you can control is mitigating as much risk as possible. I don't know if Bijan's going to get hurt. He may get hurt. That's not up to me to decide, obviously. But what I do know is that when he's on the field, he's one of the best running backs in the league. He scores a ton of points, and him and Drake London really help. Or, excuse me, him and Drake London are the engine that runs the Falcons' offense. So with that being said, let's go right in. Let's take Bijan. Okay. Okay, and this is a situation where Jonathan Taylor at 5, I understand we're using auto draft. Sleeper is just dictating ADP. They're not looking at, I believe, the format. But Jonathan Taylor is a reach. He's a player who's getting older, who's had an injury history. He doesn't catch a lot of passes, so he should not be going before Puka Nacua or even Christian McCaffrey, or CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you want to take him before Jay Jettas or Drake London or James Cook because maybe you're scared about who the quarterback is going to be, is he going to catch passes, is he going to be as efficient as last year, I understand. I probably would drop Jonathan Taylor all the way down here. Definitely take him before Kenny Walker. I don't know if I would take him before Genty. I don't know if I would take him before Achan. So that's just sort of what I'm seeing. Obviously, play the board. If you like Jonathan Taylor and you want to reach for him, go for it. I just think that reaches they don't make sense because if you could have gotten him here, which I guess you couldn't if you're team 5, then you should just take the value. So here, I think we're gonna. It's an easy between Brock and Nico. Um, you know, They both had some injury histories. I think there's personally some question marks around Olave and Pickens too. I'm going to go Brock Bowers here. Nico, Josh. Okay. Here, I like AJ Brown personally. He's missed some games too. Pickens hasn't missed any games. I'm a little concerned about sort of Pickens. Is he going to be a value here? I'm not sure about that. This could be not his ceiling because obviously he could ascend here. CD Lamb is getting older. I, I totally understand that. I just don't know if he's going to be that guy. And I think the Cowboys potentially see that too, and that's why they signed him to the franchise tag. I think here I'm going to take the discount on AJ Brown because should AJ Brown go to the Jaguars or the Pats or even the Chargers, he's going to skyrocket into here, and he probably should anyway because this is full PPR. So we're going to take AJ Brown here, and I think, have a pretty solid start so far. So we're anchoring our team. We have Bijan. He's our running back anchor. We have Brock Bowers. Should Brock Bowers return to the form that he was his his rookie season, he's going to be an incredible value, especially at the 210, especially in full PPR. I think that him and Genty are really going to be the sole focus the um, of the Raiders offense. I think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be Michael Mayer, and it's going to be Ash and Genty. And then occasionally they're going to use another receiver. Maybe they'll use Jack Besh. Maybe they'll use Jalen Naylor. Who knows? And then we're going with A.J. Brown. I understand that A.J. Brown is a little bit older, but he is still a dog when he's on the field. He still is incredibly efficient, or he can be. I think he was just personally fed up with Philadelphia. Okay, so that being said, we have some good options here. We could go Zay Flowers, who I think is a great pick. We could go Devonta. I think Devonta is a great pick. Let's go. Devonta is sort of solely based on AJ Brown leaving, but I do think that he would be more of a focal point than Zay Flowers. We're gonna go Devonta. We're gonna slam Philadelphia right now. Okay. Now, you've probably seen through the first 4 rounds, I have not selected any quarterbacks. If Josh Allen fell, I would have considered him and have gone this sort of onesie, hyper onesie sort of build. That wasn't the case, and I just don't think. I think there's going to be other quarterback values later in the draft that we can take advantage of. I like Jaden Daniels. I like Jalen Hurts. I like Justin Herbert. I like Caleb. I like Dak. I like Brock Purdy. I like Staff. I love Jared Goff. These are some good quarterbacks. Yeah, you know what? They're probably not going to give you a 50 plus game like Josh Allen has done. And they don't have the rushing upside of Josh Allen or Drake May or Lamar, except for Jaden. And, Hurts, much like Josh, is a tush push merchant. So, you know what? I'm just going to build my team through my roster, through my flex, and then we'll focus on quarterback. So here, I like Terry. They didn't really bring a lot to Terry. I also like DJ Moore, but let's go Scary Terry. Our team is a little bit on the older side, but again, it doesn't matter. If Terry McLaurin's going to be the one, then so be it. Scat would have been okay. He catches a lot of passes. He's sort of a very versatile back. Okay. So, not a lot of good options here, right? Monty's okay. Metcalf, I'm not a fan of. Jackson Dart is fine. Ramondre's fine. Justin Herbert is okay. Brian Thomas, I mean, Jacoby Myers. Yeah, I'm just not really feeling a lot of these picks. Could go David Montgomery. Would have loved Quinshawn. Would have loved Rome. I don't know if I would have loved Warren. Would have loved Jordan Tyson. So, here we're sort of looking at, okay, we're in the sixth round. Now we want to start, we're continue to build out our team, but we want to start taking more shots, right? Who has really strong upside? Does David Montgomery have really strong upside? Potentially. Does Ramondre Stevenson have really good upside? Potentially. I personally think, based on what I'm envisioning, right? Stroud has regressed. Could that be because of his play calling? Could that be because of his line? Could that be because of him? It's probably a combination of multiple factors. There's a part of me that believes they're going to want to be this game managing sort of team, right? The Texans defense on paper and last year we've seen it is incredibly strong. They've only bolstered it this offseason. They've retained a lot of their strong talent. They've re signed or they extended Will Anderson. They re signed Daniil Hunter. They brought in Reed Blankenship from Philadelphia. Can David Montgomery be someone that they're interested in just sort of churning? Can he be my RB2? Or would I rather take a shot on someone like Ramondre for maybe a more high powered Patriots offense? He's a little bit on the older side. What happened? He's a little bit on the older side, but it's something that I think is worth looking at. Or could I go for Jackson Dart? Can he be really good in New York? I feel like this is sort of what I want to do. I still think I can get really good quarterback play with decent upside to Jackson Dart later in the draft. I think it's really between these two. Even Brian Thomas, who I love a lot, especially in Dynasty. I'll go David Montgomery here. Ooh, sorry about the sound. Yeah, and I think we're just going to take a little bit of, you know what? We'll continue to punt. I like Jacoby. They did extend him. I could totally see him being sort of that guy. I also like Parker Washington. Maybe Brian Thomas is not someone I want to invest in the seventh round, but he does have sort of round two capital as we've seen from last year. Let's take the discount on Brian Thomas and see how that goes. And so again, our team is looking, I would say, really strong. Bijan, AJ Brown, Devonta, Brock Bowers, Terry, Brian Thomas. We have possession. Big play similar to Brian Thomas, but can be a possession guy. A lot of volume guy. Parker Washington, I like in the eighth. Gadsden, I think is a little rich. Is a little rich. And now here we go. I think we have some really good options. So let's go Kenny Gainwell here. Kenny Gainwell, Alec Pierce, Ricky Pearsall, I liked a lot. We could go Jadarian Price, but I think I really want to get Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy down the stretch last year absolutely crushed it in fantasy. I know he was dealing with a few injuries, but in round 9, he has the potential to have QB, at least QB1 upside, right? And he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, the 14th quarterback take. Excuse me. He's probably the 12th quarterback taken. I mean, to me, I think that's good. Jared Goff, again, is another player that I really like. Okay, and now we can just continue to take more shots. Do I want to double up on Jaden Higgins and the Texans when I sort of talked about what they could look like? CJ Stroud could be more of a game manager. Let's do Jadarian Price. Let's take. Now we're starting to build our team. We're starting to take risks, right? Does Jadarian Price have mid RB2 upside at pick 10-10? I think he does, right? He was selected 32nd overall. The backfield is wide open. We're in full PPR. He catches passes. Same thing as Kenny Gainwell. I think it can be an absolute smash. Same thing with Tyrone Tracy. I think Tyrone Tracy can be an incredible value. especially if he is indeed catching a lot of passes. See, I mean, they're talking about dynasty buy, but but let's see. Stephon Diggs, I think, could be really good. He doesn't have a team yet, but I could easily see Diggs going to Baltimore, Kansas City, a team that wants someone like Diggs to come in and have that veteran leadership, mentorship, provide stability to the offense. I really like Stephon Diggs. Not as a person, but as a player in the 11th when you're just trying to take up shots, he could easily be a wide receiver too and have boom weeks. We saw that this year with the Patriots. We saw that the year before with the Texans. He was looking good. Um, and now here we're just going to continue to take shots. Does Josh Downs move into more of a role, or do we continue just do more running backs? Let's reach a little bit for Rashad White in the 12th round. It's okay to reach because more often than not, if these guys don't seriously contribute to your roster, you're going to churn them anyway. So if you see Rashad White, I probably could have gotten him here. So maybe I could have gotten Tracy and White. But you know what? I think White is going to be stable for a stable force, sort of like Austin Eckler, to Jaden Daniels. I expect a big year for him. And, we have some big boom. Maybe here we look at a Dylan Sampson, who also catches a lot of passes. I'm not really feeling a lot of this on the wide receiver end. These are a lot of just like big play receivers. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is a little interesting, but other than that, like not interested in Tyreek or Debo. Omar Cooper, I think, is okay on the Jets, but he's competing with Garrett Wilson and Kenyon Sadiq. Denzel Boston, I'm sort of interested in, but he again seems like more of an X kind of guy. Travis Hunter, I'm pretty much out on. Antonio Williams is okay, but it's sort of competing with Terry McLaurin, and I don't really want that because then if he booms and he's okay, then I don't really have a lot of leverage if I were to try and trade them. Matthew Golden, I'm not completely out on, but it didn't look good. They did lose Dobbs, but they re-signed Jaden Reed. But you never know. Again, we're in the 13th round, so let's just take shots. Trey Benson, I'm out on. Jonah Coleman, I think is okay. Kamara, okay. Tajay Spears, I like, but I don't know if he's ever going to really crack my roster. My starting my starting five: Kamani Vidal, I like. Jonathan Brooks, I like. Chris Rodriguez. I mean, you guys have seen me draft over these past, you know, 8, 9 drafts that I'm really, I tend to take a lot of Jonathan Brooks. I take a lot of Chris Rodriguez. Sean Tucker, I'm interested in. Manuel Wilson, I think, is a fine pick. Nick Singleton, I like a lot. Here, let's just do it. Let's take um, Dylan Sampson. Let's go. And now let's go back to back wide receivers. Omar Cooper probably could have been a good pick, but let's go a little bit. Again, philosophy of the draft. I took this is my anchor team, right? I believe in the consistency of Bijan. I believe in the consistency in the bounce back of Brock Bowers. I believe in AJ Brown should he get traded, and I believe in the Eagles' offense with Devonta Smith. Terry McLaurin is a good value considering he had a great year when Jaden Daniels was a rookie. He got injured. He held out. He got injured. Never, ever buy or draft a player that is held out. More often than not, they get hurt. I think CeeDee Lamb was the exception. Brandon Ayuk got hurt. Terry McLaurin got hurt. If they're holding out, I don't draft them, especially not in what I consider to be my anchor. He got his contract extension. He had a year filled with injuries. Terry McLaurin in the fifth is totally fine. I think he has top top 15 upside. David Montgomery, I think, is fine. He can be an anchor, especially if they're going that game manager approach. Again, Brian Thomas, all about value. We're in the middle rounds of value. Could I gotten Jacoby Myers or Parker Washington potentially around later? Yes. Do I think Brian Thomas has the most wide receiver one upside? I do. But I do recognize the risk. Jacoby Myers, I think, is a solid pick. He, I think, is always going to be the middle, right? I don't think he's ever going to ascend past one of these guys. I think he's always going to be the two. And the two is a really great role to have. I know we always look at upside and we always look at, you're drafting these players in the middle rounds. You want them to ascend to wide receiver one, wide receiver two. If he is a high end wide receiver three, low end wide receiver two in full PPR who can get you 14, maybe 15 points a game with a spike touchdown here or there, I'm taking that all day. I'd rather probably have taken Parker Washington because I think he has more upside, but that's beside the point. But Brian Thomas, he was battling injuries last year. I think he's due for a bounce back. Whether he gets traded or not is not up to me. I'm just going to sort of see what he can do on the field with the Jaguars. He is talented. Kenny Gainwell in the Bucks, I think they're going to throw him a lot of passes. Brock Purdy, I love. I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. Jadarian Price, I think, at the 10 spot, I'll have to give him a few weeks because there's not a doubt in my mind that he's going to need time to acclimate to the NFL. He may not even be solid this year, but at the 10 spot, totally fine. Stephon Diggs, if he doesn't sign with the team, I drop him, no big deal. I mean, Reed, Dobbs, Higgins, I like. Worthy, Jennings, Shakir. Concepcion is okay. I think Wandale's a really good value. Just not really interested in a lot of these guys, especially Shakir. I love Shakir as a Bills fan. I just don't think that he provides a large amount of upside. And so here, I understand kickers and defense, but I think you just want to take some upside shots, and let's take Golden. If he doesn't work out, no big deal. We drop him when we churn the top waiver wire of week one or whatever position we're at. And then I like Jonathan Brooks. I've been taking a lot of Jonathan Brooks, especially at the tail end of the draft. I think that um, he really can take over that role in Carolina, and he catches passes. That's what you want to do with the running backs. Double dip. If it's full PPR, you want to get some of those third down pass catchers, even if they're not getting a lot of the rushing production, because you can still flex them in a pinch. I mean, a lot of these guys I'm just not really too interested in. I do like Jalen McMillan. I think Jalen McMillan could be really good. But Trey Harris, Zachariah Branch, maybe. Like, maybe, yeah, maybe I just take a shot on Zachariah Branch. I heard he's been doing really good stuff. Do I want to really double dip on the Falcons? I mean, they're going to have to run. They're going to have to pass eventually. Jeremy Bernard, I just don't trust with Aaron Rodgers. He could just banish him to the shadow realm. Torrey Horton, I like. Do I take Chris Brazel? Maybe. But these are a lot of guys that maybe I'm just not too interested in. Do I want to get Keon Coleman? Keon Coleman, it's, as you see, it's a make it or break it year for him. So, Debo could be good too. I mean, Debo's 30, but if he signs with somebody decent, I think he would be a fine pick. But let's just go. Let's take Jonathan Brooks and sort of see. Maybe this was a little too running back heavy. I only have six wide receivers, but I have pretty much I have four through the flex, and I have some pretty good ones. I think my bench is strong with a lot of good double dippers. Kenny Gainwell being a double dipper, Jadarian Price being a double dipper, Rashad White being a double dipper, Dylan Sampson being a double dipper. Say that 5 times fast. Jonathan Brooks being a double dipper. So at the end of the day, your draft is going to be completely different. Your home league economy is going to be completely out there. But my advice for the first 4 rounds, anchor your team down. Have as much what you consider stability as possible, right? You can't control injuries like we talked about, but you can control situation. Should A.J. Brown move, we assume Devonta Smith is going to be more of an alpha. And we've seen that when A.J. Brown is out. When A.J. Brown has been out, Devonta Smith has had these huge spike weeks. I mean, let's take a look. A.J. Brown, last year he was out for the Giants game. I thought he was dealing with something else prior. Okay, so Devonta Smith. Okay, maybe it wasn't incredible. But he's had some pretty good weeks. He's talented. He was drafted in the first round. He's someone I'm really, really interested in. Should AJ Brown leave? And then as you get into the middle rounds, you could do a little bit of reaching. I wouldn't go too crazy. And then depending on the style of your league, if it's half or full PPR, focus on those positions. I went a little bit running back heavy, but I double dip with players that I consider to catch passes. So should Kenny Gainwell only get 8 carries for 40 yards, maybe he'll catch 4, 5, 6 passes, and that's 4 points, 5 points, 6 points, 7 points. So take a look at that. And then from Diggs to Brooks, just, take your shots. But with that being said, thank you for tuning into this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.